Mount Vernon is not just an ordinary historical home. It's a living monument that continues to speak to Americans over 2 centuries later. Sitting proudly on a hill overlooking the Potomac River, this magnificent mansion was more than the residence of the nation's first president. It was the very heart of his dreams, labor, and legacy. George Washington bought Mount Vernon from his half-brother Lawrence's widow and spent years redesigning and expanding it. He wanted it to represent the best of what America could be. Elegant yet practical, refined yet deeply connected to the land. The broad veranda, long columns, and peaceful gardens all reflect Washington's personal vision. He designed the estate to blend with the surrounding nature, allowing guests to enjoy sweeping views of the river and rolling hills. But while visitors often admired its beauty, few realized that beneath this serene estate lay mysteries buried deep in the soil, mysteries that would remain hidden for generations. Archaeologists, centuries later, would uncover evidence suggesting that Washington's home still had secrets to tell. Secrets that reveal the daily life, habits, and even the hidden tastes of the man who helped shape a nation. These discoveries would not only astonish experts, but also allow modern Americans to step into the past in a way that felt incredibly real. Washington was not merely a soldier or a politician. He was also an architect of his own destiny. Every corner of Mount Vernon reflects his careful planning and eye for detail. He expanded the mansion from a modest farmhouse to a grand 21-room estate that combined European elegance with local craftsmanship. His diaries show that he personally oversaw construction, adjusted designs, and even inspected the materials used. He also managed vast farmlands surrounding the estate. These were divided into 5 farms: Mansion House Farm, River Farm, Muddy Hole Farm, Dogue Run Farm, and Union Farm, all serving different purposes. Washington used the land not just for profit, but as an experiment in sustainable agriculture. He rotated crops, built barns, and constantly tested new farming methods. His fascination with agriculture made Mount Vernon both a home and a working laboratory. From the fields to the wine cellars, every part of the estate was alive with purpose. Yet, long after his death, the soil that had supported Washington's dreams would protect traces of those very experiments, tiny pieces of his world waiting to be rediscovered centuries later. When George Washington died in 1799, his beloved home began a slow decline. His relatives struggled to maintain the enormous property, and by the early 1800s, Mount Vernon was falling apart. Paint peeled from the walls, roof tiles slipped loose, and valuable heirlooms were lost or sold. Many feared that the first president's home, a symbol of the nation's identity, might crumble into dust. That's when a group of determined women changed history. In 1858, the Mount Vernon Ladies Association, MVLA, was founded by Anne Pamela Cunningham, a passionate preservationist. Her dream was to rescue Washington's home from ruin and restore it for future generations. This was revolutionary. Women in that era had little public influence, yet they led one of the earliest national preservation campaigns. They raised money through donations, organized events, and convinced political leaders to support the cause. Within years, they purchased the estate and began restoration work. Their dedication not only saved Mount Vernon, but also started a movement that inspired Americans to protect other historic landmarks. Because of their vision, archaeologists today can still explore the real Mount Vernon, the same soil, bricks, and cellars that Washington once knew. Without their early courage, the astonishing discoveries made later would never have been possible. In the 21st century, Mount Vernon became a site of advanced scientific research. With modern tools like ground-penetrating radar, carbon dating, and DNA analysis, archaeologists could now explore beneath the estate's surface without destroying it. Their mission was to learn more about how people lived there in Washington's time, not just the family, but also the enslaved men and women who worked tirelessly to keep the estate running. In one particular area near the mansion's kitchen and storage rooms, experts detected strange underground shapes. These weren't natural. They appeared to be man-made structures. Intrigued, archaeologists carefully began to excavate. expecting to find old walls, tools, or fragments of pottery. What they uncovered instead shocked everyone. A group of perfectly sealed glass bottles buried deep in the soil. Unlike typical ruins, these bottles were whole and still, contained liquid inside, a nearly impossible level of preservation for something more than 2 centuries old. The team immediately knew they had stumbled onto something extraordinary. What could these bottles contain? And why had they been buried in such a careful, deliberate way? Each bottle was unique, hand-blown with small imperfections that reflected 18th century craftsmanship. Some were tall and slender, others short and rounded. The archaeologists noticed they had been buried together, possibly as part of a storage or preservation effort. Inside, through the glass, the researchers could see that the bottles still held a cloudy, amber-colored liquid, an astonishing sight. Normally, organic materials like fruits or alcohol evaporate or rot after a few decades, but these had survived centuries underground. After transporting the bottles to a laboratory, scientists carefully extracted samples for testing. The results were even more incredible than they expected. The bottles contained fermented fruits, herbs, and alcoholic mixtures, some of which matched recipes found in Martha Washington's personal cookbook, a collection of family recipes she had inherited and used throughout her life. Among the fruits identified were cherries, blackberries, and currants, all soaked in alcohol to preserve them. Chemical testing confirmed traces of sugar, spices, and ethanol, evidence of colonial-era preservation methods. The alcohol had acted as a natural seal, protecting the contents from bacteria and decay. For archaeologists, it was like opening a time capsule straight from the Washington kitchen. These weren't just bottles, they were living links to the daily life of America's first family. The discovery gave historians a vivid glimpse into what meals at Mount Vernon might have been like. Washington was known to enjoy simple, hearty foods, while Martha's hospitality was famous throughout Virginia. Guests visiting Mount Vernon often spoke of the warm atmosphere, fine meals, and homemade beverages. The bottles likely contained ingredients used in desserts, sauces, or table wines. They revealed a side of the Washington household that history books rarely mention, a family that loved good food, conversation, and the comforts of home. These findings also reflected the ingenuity of early American preservation. Without modern refrigeration, families like the Washingtons used creative techniques, fermenting fruits, infusing herbs, and sealing bottles with wax to ensure nothing went to waste. For archaeologists, this was a goldmine of information. Each bottle represented not just what the Washingtons ate or drank, but how they lived, worked, and adapted to the world around them. Through these bottles, the boundary between past and present seemed to dissolve. For the first time, scientists could literally hold a piece of George Washington's household in their hands. As if that weren't enough, the same excavation revealed more surprises. Beneath part of the mansion, archaeologists uncovered a sealed-off cellar room, filled with artifacts that hadn't been touched since the 18th century. Inside, they found fragments of porcelain dishes, iron keys, rusted utensils, and glass pieces, everyday objects from the Washington era. Among the most intriguing finds were small metal tools, believed to have been used for distilling alcohol, perhaps linked to Washington's own experiments with whiskey production after his presidency. Records show that by 1797, Washington operated one of the largest distilleries in America, producing thousands of gallons of whiskey each year. The room also contained ashes and signs of fire, suggesting it was once part of a kitchen or workshop area. Some of the items bore marks that hinted at repairs and reuse, showing that the people of Mount Vernon, free and enslaved alike, lived with practicality and resourcefulness. Each object helped historians understand not just Washington's wealth, but the complex system of labor that kept his estate running. Behind the grand image of the mansion stood a vast network of workers whose skill and dedication built the foundation of Mount Vernon's success. Mount Vernon was home to hundreds of enslaved individuals who played vital roles in the plantation's operations. They were gardeners, cooks, blacksmiths, carpenters, and house servants. Their daily work kept the estate thriving, yet their lives were often hidden from the official records of history. Recent archaeological work has brought their stories closer to light. Tools, pottery shards, and personal items found near slave quarters reveal details of their routines, craftsmanship, and resilience. Some handmade ornaments and cooking tools suggest creativity and independence within harsh conditions. By studying these artifacts, historians can now tell a more complete story, one that honors not only Washington's legacy, but also the lives of those who lived and labored at Mount Vernon. The discovery of the sealed bottles and the hidden cellar became even more meaningful when seen through this lens. It connected everyone who lived on that land, from the Washington family to the workers who made their lives possible. When the news of the discovery broke, it sparked excitement among historians and history lovers everywhere. Museums, universities, and science institutions praised the find as one of the most significant domestic archaeology discoveries in recent American history. Experts noted that these artifacts gave scholars a chance to study 18th century food preservation in a real-world context, something almost never possible. For everyday Americans, the emotional connection was just as powerful. The idea that something touched by Washington's own household had survived so perfectly felt almost miraculous. Visitors began flocking to Mount Vernon with renewed interest, eager to see where the discoveries had been made. The Mount Vernon Ladies Association opened new exhibits and digital tours, allowing people to view 3D scans of the bottles and artifacts. The site became not just a historic house, but a bridge between centuries, a place where modern science meets living history. Beyond the excitement, this discovery teaches us something important about history itself. It reminds us that even after hundreds of years, there are still stories waiting to be told, sometimes hidden just a few feet beneath the ground. For archaeologists, it shows how patience and technology can uncover the smallest traces of daily life and connect them to larger cultural stories. For Americans, it offers a chance to see the founders not as distant statues, but as real people who cooked, worked, and cared for their homes. Every brick and bottle tells a story of survival, innovation, and human connection. The sealed bottles are a symbol of endurance, surviving wars, storms, and centuries of change, yet still holding their quiet secrets. In many ways, Mount Vernon itself is just like those bottles, a piece of the past preserved through the dedication of people who understood its importance. Today, Mount Vernon continues to attract millions of visitors from around the world. The estate has expanded to include museums, gardens, and educational centers where children and adults can learn about 18th century life. The archaeologists' findings have become a highlight of modern exhibits, allowing people to see up close what Washington's world looked like, from the food he ate to the furniture he used. Researchers continue to study soil samples, seeds, and other small clues that might reveal even more secrets beneath the estate. Every discovery deepens the connection between past and present. The bottles, tools, and hidden rooms remind us that history isn't frozen. It's alive, waiting for the next curious mind to uncover it. George Washington once said, "Perseverance and spirit have done wonders in all ages." The same spirit drives modern archaeologists who explore his home today. Their careful work, guided by science and respect, proves that history is not just about dates and names. It's about people, places, and the objects they leave behind. The discoveries at Mount Vernon remind us that even the most familiar stories can surprise us. Beneath the elegant facade of America's first presidential home lay evidence of curiosity, creativity, and everyday life, sealed away like a message in a bottle. As long as Mount Vernon stands, it will continue to inspire new generations to look deeper, question more, and remember that the past is never truly gone. It's simply waiting beneath the surface, ready to be found. In the end, the discoveries made at Mount Vernon are about more than artifacts. They are about the endurance of memory, a reflection of what America was and what it continues to be. Washington's home tells a story of effort, ambition, and preservation. The bottles, preserved fruits and tools whisper to us from the 18th century, saying that even ordinary things can hold extraordinary meaning. For the archaeologists who found them, the experience was deeply emotional. They weren't just handling ancient objects. They were touching a part of America's soul. And for visitors who walk through Mount Vernon's halls today, the message is clear. Our history still lives among us. Beneath every floorboard and field lies the heartbeat of a story that continues to shape who we are.